passionate about Cleveland sports.
He's going in! Touchdown!
Browns, Indians, Cavs, the Big Ten, and more.
Cleveland is a city of champions once again!
Andy and Jared, Cleveland and beyond.
Swing it line! To deep right!
Here are your hosts, Andy Billman and Jared Watson.
Hello and welcome, Andy and Jared, Cleveland and Beyond. He's Andy Billman. I'm Jared Watson, and this is a Cleveland Browns rumor breaking news type lead-in to the show.
Cleveland Browns.
We can't really call it breaking because nothing has happened. We are just breaking in with a lot of talk today. This being the what is today? The 6th of March. For anyone just to reference on their own. There's a ton of talk from Browns media, from Browns Twitter, and so we thought we would lead in with some of these rumors and our thoughts on them, and then this will roll into the episode that we're getting ready to post with Hayden Grove of Cleveland.com, who was at the Combine and gave us some great sound, actually. It was a great interview with Hayden.
Browns and Cavs. Browns and Cavs,
yeah,
too.
Browns and Cavs info and his thoughts on what the Cavs are going to do next season. So stay tuned for all of that following this quick break-in, this quick lead-in start. I don't have a name for it.
Here's social media tidal wave.
That'll work. Yeah, that'll work.
It's social media tidal wave because there's a lot of stuff that's being floated and really no one's attributing to anything other than the Duke Johnson news and Jamie Collins, which we'll get to in a second. This is Andy and Jared, Cleveland and Beyond, Pulse Podcast Network, and I think here's a great way to start off, Jared. The rumors are going around. It's been slowly building, and you and I have avoided it, and I'm proud of us for avoiding it. And now it's time to talk about it. Odell Beckham Jr. possibly playing on the Browns. Because it's getting picked up now more on a level. I know you pulled up a couple references on a couple stations that have talked about today.
Yeah, Albert Breer was on Bull and Fox on 92.3 The Fan, the CBS affiliate over there in Cleveland. That he says that he thinks Dorsey's going to be aggressive, and that the Giants, he wouldn't be surprised if the Giants or their upper management are willing to move Odell.
Yep, the one rumor I saw too out there, and it's just a rumor. It's not meaning like this is not something that someone can say sources. This is just hearsay on a wall. But the rumor is, too, that the Browns might be floating Zeitler out there, the guard, to also be part of this deal with picks. And that would make sense because it kind of takes away the money, which the Browns don't have any money issues with that, but I think the Browns would like to take away some money and give some money back. Okay, to get stuck on Zeitler for a second, Zeitler getting traded to me makes some sense. I don't know if I would do it or not, but it makes some sense.
It felt difficult for me to accept that move right now because I feel I'm afraid to mess with an offensive line that was sketchy for the first part of the season, and then we got used to it actually working well together.
Well, no, there's no question. There's no question. Look, this is saying, hey, we're putting Corbett right into the starting lineup. And we're ready to do this. And that's what that signals. I think Zeitler getting traded is very possible. I think because really we mentioned it on the podcast too. Corbett doesn't really have a home right now. He's kind of floating. So this gives him a home. You're going to be starting now on the guard. You're going to be starting on the line. We have you figured out. Zeitler gives us more money back, which if we take on back, which Browns don't have any money issues, but they're thinking longer term, which I do like what they're doing here. They're basically saying, look, we add some more money with Beckham, obviously.
Right.
We have a larger hole, but they're trying to fill out this team for 3 or 4 years down the road. But what they're trying to say is, hey, look, it takes out some of that money crunch that we were going to feel. So that, and they won't be, that's not the right term. They're just taking a little bit more money less than they should. And on top of it, Corbett starting makes sense in that way because honestly, Jared, him sitting out another year is not great.
Understood. Great. Got that. And just to reference, you bring up the money, and I can't believe I almost didn't even mention this, and it's I feel like a jerk because it should be mentioned. But the Browns added their cap space. They've got $80 million now in cap space because they just released linebacker Jamie Collins as well. So a lot of us saw that coming too. Before we get into some of the bigger rumors and tying this back into Odell again, I just wanted to briefly bring that up because there were folks here that I think fans saw this coming. I think I saw it coming. It's unfortunate because Jamie Collins is the type of guy that he's got a good reputation in the league. He's got a good reputation in the locker room. He just didn't produce like we hoped on the field. I don't know how else to say it.
Analytically, he's the leading tackler on the team. He does make plays. He also looked bad on plays. He also took some plays off. And when you're getting paid that kind of money, Jared, and on top of it, you're part of the analytical crew that did bring him in, that's going to drive people inside the Browns locker room crazy. I think that all played a part of it. I'm not opposed to this move, and the only reason why is Collins was getting overpaid for what he was doing. And I'm just being honest. He was.
That's the bigger point there, is that for the money he's getting, all you have to do is, compare the money he's getting and contrast that to the Browns' run defense last season.
And again,
that right there is why Jamie Collins is no longer with the team.
Look, that's why they met. And we all knew when they said that. They're basically, Dorsey was giving an ultimatum. You're going to take a pay cut or you're gone. He didn't take the pay cut, and he was gone. And I don't think Dorsey was wrong to ask that. Again, Jamie Collins is not a terrible player. But what Jamie Collins is overpaid, and that had to go. So that's it. The Browns now have some holes at linebacker, but we'll get to that in another podcast. But
they've had them anyways.
They've had them
I think
anyways.
That's their biggest glare. I think that's the biggest eyesore on the team right now is the linebacker position.
Yeah, Schobert.
I don't know how much more you've got out of Kirksey, and we know that Schobert coming off injury was not what we were hoping. So be prepared. I know we're talking about this being a good year for defensive linemen getting drafted and stuff like that, but linebackers, the Browns are going to have to.
They're thin,
and they can't even do it. They can't do it all in the draft. There's going to be. They've got $80 million in cap space. We're talking about it. They're going to be in free agency, and there are some guys that probably make sense at linebacker that are going to be free agents that are free agents that we can grab.
Right. I don't think it'll be Mosley, but I think there's going to be guys out there that they're going to take as linebackers to fill in those spots. And the Browns need to. And by the way, the Browns have to. It's not even a question. So let me ask you, because this is the bigger question here to me.
Yeah.
What do you do if you really have a chance to sniff out the Giants and get Odell Beckham? Because I've been back and forth on this. Let's go to the obvious positives. Look, it's video game crazy. Landry, Beckham Jr., you got Kareem Hunt, you got Nick Chubb, you got Callaway, you got Higgins. God, Higgins would be your 4. Holy cow. What a wide receiver core you have. It's pretty good. It's not Hall of Fame, but it's pretty damn good. You're lighting the field on fucking fire with those kind of moves, right? So you got all that stuff going for you. You're talking casino type stuff on the weekend. Now, the other half, Antonio Brown has masked Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr. brings some attitude. Positive and negative. Odell Beckham Jr. brings a lot of, bravado. He's going to bring me type of attitude at times. All that to say, Jared, I can tell you're ready by seeing your face. I'll let you lead off. If you're the Browns and you do it and you're going to trade draft picks, maybe Zeitler, do you make this trade to get Odell Beckham in the town?
First of all, the trade, Dorsey, I trust that this trade will be done correctly if Dorsey's involved. Obviously we've got a guy who knows how to make these deals and isn't gonna overpay.
No,
if it doesn't work, then he's gonna walk away, right? We know that. We know that Dorsey's this is gonna go down the way that the Browns wanted, or it's not gonna happen.
Yep.
So I'm cool with that. That's part one, and I'm okay with it. Part two, we know the relationship that Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry have.
LSU kids.
We know that Baker Mayfield has been hanging out with both of them in the offseason. Yep. And we know how they will work together. So that's part two, and I'm happy with that. Part three is what will Odell Beckham Jr. do to this locker room? And in my opinion, because of the relationship he has, that he's been building with Baker, that he has with Jarvis Landry, I'm not afraid, because you talk about Antonio Brown, but Odell Beckham Jr. did not hold his team hostage.
Oh, I don't know.
Beckham Jr.
Oh, I don't know. I live in this area of the country.
It's not the same, Andy. He showed up. He played the game.
I'm telling you right now. Short-term memory. Odell Beckham's had some moments like Antonio Brown. He has. It's not to the extreme, Antonio Brown, but.
Well, then here's this. Then here's 4. Then here's part 4.
All right.
And you're right. Short-term memory. You're damn
it's
right.
Short-term memories. I'm telling you.
Listen, I'm looking through rose-colored glasses right now.
Odell Beckham Jr. does this stuff. It's coming our way. If he comes
So then
to
here's the next thing. Then.
All right.
Is it a 1-year deal?
Well, no, you're taking his contract. You're trading him.
What's he got left on the contract?
Oh, man. It's numbers. I mean,
right.
Look,
I haven't even looked, and that's why I'm saying. I haven't even looked. I don't know the numbers. I haven't, and mainly because I haven't looked at any of the numbers on any of this, mainly because I never thought it was a possibility. I never thought it was in the, we are only looking at this now, Andy, because we have had our hands forced. We have been forced to talk about this today.
You have to. It's in play. So here's where I come out. If you would have told me 2 years ago, I'd be like, hell no. And I was on 0-16 Browns. I'd be like, hell no. No, I don't want. It's just not the right moment.
Well, no, you'd have been just. It would have. There was no reason. There was no reason.
It would have been so bad. All right. Beginning of last year, hell no. This year, okay. I'll repeat some of your statements. Mayfield's the leader. Landry's an LSU kid. Beckham's an LSU kid. Maybe that has some juju there. There are some things in there that you like. They're all hanging out with each other. I would pull the trigger. Here's what I am warning everyone out there. I would pull the trigger. I would do the deal. It's just too enticing. It's too enticing. He needs to be healthy, which Odell Beckham's not been healthy. And he has got to perform and let Baker be the team. He overshadowing Eli. I like Eli Manning. I'm more Eli Manning pro than other guys are. I like Eli. Overshadowing Baker, I think, is going to be a tricky thing for him, and I don't think he'll do it. I don't think he'll allow him to do it. So I would pull this trigger because I think it's too enticing to think about Odell Beckham Jr., Callaway, and Landry out in the field. Jared, I think that could just burst so many things on the well. And then when you add in late December a Kareem Hunt and you fly out there, it's going to really put a lot of pressure on teams on what to do with the ball, and they're going to be flying down the field. I think you make the trade if you can do it. I think Zeitler making the trade too would make it all worthwhile. The only thing I'll warn myself and warn other Browns fans, the buyer beware is Odell Beckham does carry some baggage from past experiences, so that should come in play here. The other, yes.
The Odell Beckham Jr., so it was a 5-year extension with the Giants, and that was last year.
Yes.
God bless. See, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, no,
it was last year. It was a 5-year extension, and it was maximum $95 million over the course of the deal,
yes.
And $90 million base value plus $5 million in incentives, with $65 million in total guaranteed money. And so that was. I don't know. What do you do with that? I mean, do you spend the money now, Andy? Do you do that? Do you lock in? Do you do it because you hope that that's going to be the catalyst to get this team get the Lombardi Trophy to Cleveland, Ohio, before these other guys come into their own time for contracts?
Here's a simple math. You got to keep Odell for 3 years, so you got to keep Odell Beckham in 19, 20, and 21. You have to, because if you don't,
and not only keep him happy
and healthy, and keep him healthy. That's a lot. Again, Odell Beckham Jr. was hurt last year. So it's something to just keep in mind. I think it's too enticing, though. I've been around sports a long time, Jared. Guys like Odell Beckham Jr., when they play motivated, they play really well.
We've been burned by wide receivers before, coming for money, though.
I don't think this is the same. I know it's not the same.
No, I don't either. I'm playing devil's advocate. I mean, I'm going against what I already said in regard to Jarvis and Baker with this.
Look, it's not the same. Look, I'm not stupid. I'll say it again. Here's coming out wide. Callaway, Beckham, Landry, and a two running back set. We don't even put a tight end in.
What about Brashard Perryman? We even talking about him?
I'm not looking.
If that move happens, does Brashard sign again with Cleveland?
No.
Yeah.
No. But that's why this might be in play. Because maybe Dorsey's saying, you know what? I can't make this happen. I want Corbett to start playing guard, get Zeitler out of here, bring on Beckham. Jared, it's one of those kind of things
that's bold.
But Jared, it makes sense. It makes sense. I think that's why it's gaining steam. Now, Do I think it's going to happen? If I was actually at a table in Vegas, I knowing what I know now, what I'm hearing, can't believe I'm saying this. I think it's going to happen.
Oh my goodness.
I do. I'm surprised.
I still think it's a 35% chance. I don't think it's even. I think it went from 10 to 15 to 35.
I think it's adding pressure because the Giants need offensive linemen. A guard would make sense. They need draft picks. The Browns don't.
Well, and we know the Giants are not going to admit it, and they won't ever let their fans know it. But they are. I think that they realize that it's time for rebuild.
Well, yeah, and they've been talking about it up here forever. And again, that goes to the bigger point. You get draft picks. It really helps you out. You get a guard. I mean, it sounds silly. The Giants could really use more offensive linemen. Both lines for the Giants last year were terrible. To get a good guard like Zeitler really helps. It really helps a team like the Giants. It's enticing. So, again, get some draft picks, throw in that. I think you got it. I think it's something now to watch. I think that's where we should leave it. I think it's something to watch. I think you got to keep your eye on it. I will also say that, people have been – I thought there was a lot more overreaction to Cleveland Twitter yesterday. After today, it's not. It's really whipping into vortex form here. Where, I mean, it is just really whipping hard. I mean,
well, and I didn't even notice at first. It didn't start out with the Odell Beckham Jr. stuff. To switch gears one more time,
and we should.
The last rumor,
story. Yeah,
the last rumor, and the last thing, and it all comes from John Dorsey's statements at the podium in regard to the Browns signing Kareem Hunt, and when he spoke and answered the question to whether Duke Johnson would be traded or would still, is he still going to be with the team? Do you want Duke? And I don't remember the exact words, but Dorsey did not give. It was not a feel good answer if you're a Duke Johnson fan and a fan of the guy playing for the Browns. And it has now gotten to the point where the rumors are flying that Duke will be gone. They are complete rumors at this point. It is still, in my mind at least, to the evidence, until proven contrary, speculative to some extent. Because we know, Andy, we do know that other teams want it. I mean, it's obvious. It's easy to say the Browns might trade Duke because other teams want him. You could say that about a couple of guys on that team.
Yeah.
But do you necessarily think that that's something that they're going to do with the running back position still? We talked about it, Andy. Kareem Hunt, we don't know what's going to happen and when he's going to be able to play. And do you really want Chubb to be the guy, only guy? I mean, I just don't know that that's a safe play.
You and I talked about this. You can't. I just don't see. Now we're going to swing a pendulum. The reports are teams are interested in Duke Johnson. I think that's true. I don't think the Browns are going to trade him for two reasons. One, you just mentioned it. Your backfield now becomes thin. You have to draft a running back. And you got to draft a decent one. You need,
which I think they might do anyways. They need to do that anyways, in my opinion.
No, they do. They do. And again, that makes sense to me. But again, it's very different when he's your 3 or 4. He's not your 2 or 3.
Yes.
Right? That's a big difference. So that's number one. Number two, throughout the history of time, running backs who used to be the top dog in the league. Then it became quarterback, but still running backs really held in high value. Ever since the late 90s, the running back's really been devalued, and there's nothing more you can say that than the off-season. Off-season running backs are not valued. You're not going to get a high draft pick for Duke Johnson. You're just not. You're probably looking at
that.
You're just not. I mean, you're looking at a 3, a low 4, maybe even a 5. I don't think that's crazy. But why do that when if you do want to trade him, hold him in the middle of the season when someone gets injured and trade him for a 3 and really get what you want to out of it and then that way Kareem Hunt's back and your rookie's playing to your speed. I just don't think it's smart, Jared. The running back position is the most fragile position in sports. I love Nick Chubb, but Nick Chubb did miss he was injured in college for a season. So it isn't to say it's unrealistic to think he might be injured in a game. And he's a running back on top of it. Keep Duke Johnson. Trade him at the trade deadline during the season if you want. I'm not going to.
That would make sense. I'm with you 100% that would make sense as long as, we're looking at an established backfield,
Kareem Hunt's
through
back.
That part of the season.
Yeah,
right.
Once Kareem comes on board and he's full, I don't know how you feel, but it's like we're not naive. Duke Johnson's playing time goes really down quick.
Well, it's already. He's disappeared in games throughout the season already.
Yeah,
this is his fourth. What is it? We're going into his fourth or fifth year in the league. Something like that.
I mean, look, I know I talked to you about this throughout the year, and I'm not as much as a Duke Johnson lover as others. But again, I'm more on the fence about him. I don't think he's bad. I just don't think he's good. I think he's okay.
See, a lot of Browns fans would say you're wrong. He's a running back who can catch the ball, and he's explosive out of the backfield in the flat, and that's where Duke really makes his money. And the issue with that is, okay, but it's far and few between, right?
Yeah,
it's far and few between.
I've seen enough of Duke Johnson to tell you there's better guys out there in that spot, but he's not awful. But he's not all again. It's okay to say Jamie Collins is okay. It's okay to say Duke Johnson's okay.
Right. And people were harsh on Jamie Collins on social media today, even with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jamie Collins. Look again. The thing that's gonna kill Jamie Collins on the way out. Then we'll get back to Duke. Jamie Collins got caught on camera, and he deserved to get embarrassed. He didn't play hard in some plays and took plays off, and we saw it. And we went through a lot on last year's podcast. It happened with him, and that's no good. That's no bueno. And that's the reason why. With Duke Johnson, he plays hard every play. But, Jared, I've seen enough of Duke, and I kind of realized it last year during the middle of the year again. Again, he's a solid player, but this bursting speed, this breakaway tackling, I just didn't see it last year. So I think that's kind of where we end up with him. So that's kind of where we're at today. I would say keep an eye on Twitter. Free agency starts a week from today on the 13th. Jared and I will be all over that. We'll probably do a podcast between now and then. But again, it's interesting. Odell Beckham Jr., Jamie Collins gone. Duke Johnson, like says, reported by Cleveland.com, teams are interested. The Browns, again, they don't go quiet in the wind. Boy, they make a lot of noise at any time during the year. It's proven again here. I will say it's exciting.
Well, and let me wrap it up with this, and we'll shoot it straight into your regularly scheduled podcast program. It's this simple, Andy, that we talk about it all the time. It's nice and quiet, but it can't stay quiet for too long in Browns land. You know that. And part of this is just the fact that some folks are just biting at the bit for something to happen, because when it is too quiet for too long, everybody gets antsy. So maybe that's part of what we're dealing with right now. Time will tell. Andy and I will record something if need be, but until then, listen to the rest of this podcast and listen to Hayden Grove's insights that he got from down at the NFL Combine, and we'll be doing another episode soon. So thank you very much. Without further ado, here's Andy and Jared, Cleveland and Beyond, the real episode. Take care.
Passionate about Cleveland sports?
He's going in! Touchdown!
Browns, Indians, Cavs, the Big Ten, and more.
Cleveland is a city of champions once again!
Andy and Jared, Cleveland and Beyond.
Swing it and drive! To deep right!
Here are your hosts, Andy Billman and Jared Foster.
Hello and welcome. Andy and Jared, Cleveland and Beyond. This show is a part of the Pulse Podcast Network. I'm Jared Watson along with Andy Billman. Coming up, we're going to talk about the Browns, the Cavs, and have a conversation with Hayden Grove, who's down at the NFL Combine right now. He's, of course, from Cleveland.com. But first, here's a message from TixBlitz. They're the official ticket provider for the Pulse Podcast Network.
Have you been searching for the best ticket deals around? Well, look no further. With TixBlitz, the price you see is the price you pay. And TixBlitz just happens to have over $6 billion in ticket inventory just waiting for you. They absolutely mean it when they say every ticket, every venue, everywhere. And you can save even more with promo code PULSE in all caps to save you 5% off your total purchase. Just go to TixBlitz.com and click the search bar. Search events based on your geographic location, pick the show you want, and bam, it's showtime. Sporting events, Broadway shows, concerts, and more with TixBlitz.com. And while you're there, be sure to sign up for the email newsletter so you can stay up to date on the latest news and savings with TixBlitz. That's TixBlitz.com. TixBlitz.com. Every ticket, every venue, everywhere.
Just use the promo code PULSE for 5% off. That's PULSE, P-U-L-S-E, in the promo code for 5% off. They've got a wide variety of tickets, from sporting events to music concerts. Check it out. It's, of course, easy to use. Andy, Browns.
Cleveland Browns.
It's been quiet, and that's been a good thing. We're not used to this. This isn't normal for us. We don't have to deal with drama. The drama that was bubbling up. Anytime it seems to bubble up, seems to be tampered rather quickly. Are you used to this? Because it's strange to me, and like I said, we're going to talk with Hayden Grove about this from Cleveland.com in a little while too. But this to me is it's a new Cleveland Browns feel.
It is. I would also say it's much needed. I used to dread this time of year. I love the NFL and I love college football. I am not a combine guy. I don't get interested by the sprints and the hand measurements and how far can you jump in the air. I know there are people that are. It's just not my cup of tea. I'd rather watch basketball and get into that stuff and talk about the tribe rather than that. So I'm glad in a way because I like putting that in my back view mirror and on the front. And the Indians and the Browns have really had a calm week, to your point. There were some bullet points, which we'll go through now. I think the one to start off with, it was not big news, but it was news I wanted to hear. I think you would agree. Greg Robinson's coming back on a 1-year deal. Made a lot of sense. And for people who were wondering why a 1-year deal, I thought it actually made great sense for both sides. One, from the Browns, you need to see if Robinson can back up what he did last year. It was a 1-year tryout. He did a nice job in the last 8 games, but it was only 8 games. You don't want to sign him to a multi-year deal and then have him falter. So I thought it was good from him, and it was good for Robinson. Robinson wasn't going to get paid a lot of money, and he's a left tackle. He can make big-time money if he really shows and shells out. So I thought it made sense for both sides. I like the move a lot. And Jared, what I really read into that move is now you can really – that was the one position – I thought outside of you can always use playmakers, but I thought that was really the one position, Jared, where you could see a legitimate first-round pick maybe being used to, but not now. I don't think the Browns use it on any kind of offensive lineman at this point, which is good. I don't like that. I like drafting linemen later in the draft, not in the first or second round.
No, and I haven't looked around, but I'm guessing that if they do want to grab a few guys, there's going to be some free agency opportunity or some guys to get a chance to come in and try out. Does that make sense?
Well, you got Harrison, too. I mean, that's the thing that the Browns have. They have 2 guys on the line who are backups who might be considered future starters, Harrison and Corbett. So you got 2 guys who are ready to go. So really, it's rare. The Browns kind of have a good 5 and a good 2 waiting. So really, the Browns don't – I don't know. I mean, you can sign someone for sure.
But aren't we? How worried are we about Harrison and what to expect? I mean, it was called an experiment the entire time that he started at the beginning of last year.
Here's the thing I would say, and this is why it was an experiment. Greg Robinson did not play well for the Rams either when he first came in, and he really felt the pressure of being the number 2 draft pick overall, and it didn't work out. And look how well he played last year. So it does take time. It's not instantaneous. The one guy I'm actually less, it's funny, I'm less worried about Harrison actually, because if they think he's talented and he's coachable, he'll make it. Corbett's the one I don't get a vibe for yet. Is he a center? Is he a guard? I'm having a hard time hearing what he's going to be. And the only reason why I get kind of rankled or nervous is that's kind of what we felt in the past from Cam Irving, and we know how that worked out.
Right, and we worry about putting that pressure on Bitonio too.
I know. So we'll see. But anyways, that was good that Robinson's back, and you can tell Robinson was excited. Nothing yet on Perriman and Higgins. We'll ask Hayden Grove if he's heard anything live at Indy. The one thing that has kind of came out about those two, though, I think Higgins, whether he gets tendered or not, I think Higgins comes back anyway, so I wouldn't really be too concerned. Really, the story here with Perriman is you got a guy like Drew Rosenhaus. How much does that play effect? Rosenhaus a couple of years ago, was it last year or 2 years ago with Pryor? So
yeah, a positive or negative effect with Rosenhaus.
Correct.
I mean, he's good at what he does, but that doesn't necessarily translate to a player being happy at the end of the day with the decision that's being made. Well, Rosenhaus worries about putting dollars in pockets. That's it.
All right. And by the way, that's not a terrible thing either, and you need to do that.
No, absolutely not.
So we'll see what happens. My vibe is, I think actually for whatever reason or another, I think both are coming back. I do think, though, the Browns are going to have to pay the piper, not all the way, but a little bit with Perriman. Perriman, they're going to have to put a little bit more money than what they're probably comfortable doing right now. And if they don't want to do that, I think Perriman walks. But if they go the extra mile, and not a whole lot more, but if they go up a little bit more than probably what they're offering, I bet you Perriman stays around.
Well, they've got the money to do it, too. And
right.
Here's
That's
the
my
other
point,
thing.
right.
You don't necessarily see other places where they need to throw a lot of money around.
No, and Perriman could be a big help. Because if you bring back Perriman, I'll be honest with you, Jared, because Kareem Hunt is the other running back, I would say on offense, it's really debatable about where you draft other than a tight end. You could always use a third string quarterback that you're developing, so probably something like that. Outside that, like you dropped a couple offensive linemen, but that's not until the 5th, 6th, 7th round. Jared, the offense is kind of set.
Right. I mean, and we know that John Dorsey's we're talking about tight end. John Dorsey's even talked about Njoku improving his game as a blocking tight end.
Well, it's a big year
with
for
that
him.
too. Yeah. There's expectations there that are coming with these guys. I also think that you don't want to mess with guys that Baker has shown a chemistry with. And for sure, from almost as soon as he got with the team, Brashard Perriman made an impact and was a guy that Baker was not afraid to throw to, and that Freddie wasn't afraid to make the calls for those plays.
No, I agree. And I think here's the last thing I would also throw in there about this. I think Perriman too needs to remember that he really found a home here. It really worked out for him. This team is on the up. I think that's what Perriman needs to, in fairness to Pryor, the Browns were not on the up. So Pryor, you could argue Pryor maybe got out because he knew what was ahead. In this case of Perriman, I mean, I think you'd want to be on a team that's on the rise. So we'll see what happens. Time will tell. I think the other interesting thing that kind of came out in the last few days outside of the Kitchens press conference is this Jamie Collins meeting. It's happening on Saturday. It'll be interesting to see how this goes. I definitely got the vibe. There's two guys that are coming into camp that I think I'm unsure about, and it's Duke Johnson and it's Jamie Collins. And it's through comments through Dorsey that's like, I don't know how much longer Duke's going to be here, and I don't know how much longer Jamie Collins is going to be here. Because he talked about what his future role is on the team, and for a veteran, that's alarming to hear something like that from your GM. I'm interested to see what they do with Collins. He's expensive. I think they're going to want him to bring down his price tag and his contract. We'll have to see that happens. Jared, I know a lot of fans weren't thrilled with Jamie. I wasn't on that bandwagon as much at times, but I will admit there are plays that we went through during the season where he takes off. It'll be interesting. I think Jamie might be pricing himself out of Cleveland if I'm reading into the comments from Dorsey.
I'm okay with Jamie Collins leaving because, in my opinion, that linebacker position is one of the few areas that the team needs to pay a lot of attention to and needs a lot of love and care. And I don't know that Jamie Collins fits into the future of that core group of guys there at linebacker position. Now, when we're talking about Duke, here's the thing. There's a very simple thing that I see in regard to Duke with what is going to be the outcome if he doesn't come back to Cleveland. This feels very much like a guy that could end up going to New England and doing really good things, right? I mean, that's kind of a situation that you're looking at a guy that has a lot of talent, had some family issues in the season that may have affected certain aspects of his play on the field, but that Cleveland fans love, and we can all see how good of a player he is. And it just feels to me, Andy, like it's the typical situation of the type of guy that the Patriots would absolutely love to have, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I think Duke Johnson too. I think he was in a weird spot. I think he actually liked Hugh and liked Haley because they used him and utilized him. So I think the offseason with Freddie is going to be important. I do think this offseason is important for Duke to connect with Freddie quickly if he hasn't. He needs to get in Freddie's eyesight and needs to get in his range so he gets the ball.
Yeah, because we also know that there's a possibility by the third round the Browns are drafting another running back.
No, again, right. I mean, it'll be interesting. And by the way, Dorsey's definitely not afraid to press buttons. I think the one position is tight end. I think the Browns need to draft a tight end. I don't care if it's later in the second, third rounds. I think the first round's too high. There's a kid out of Iowa. There's two tight ends out of Iowa I'm hearing a lot about, but one especially they're comparing him to Gronkowski. So I could see someone like that if he's available. But I mean, really outside that, that's kind of the offense. And Jamie Collins will be interesting to see where he plays. The other move before we get to Kitchens is Andrew Berry left. He is no longer with the Browns. He's now the VP of personnel with the Eagles. I think there's two takes on this. The first one, he obviously took a better job. He's obviously still well thought of in the league because the Eagles are not a team on the downward trend. They're on the upward. They won Super Bowl a year ago. So for him to get a job like that says a lot about Andrew Berry. So that's a great job for him. And I think the other thing is, and you and I alluded to this back in the winter, and it's still winter, but back in January, December, who's going to win these internal battles? And analytics is dying. The gavel is really being salted away by moves like this. It's really down to DePodesta and probably a few other guys, but DePodesta and Berry's a lot stronger than just DePodesta. So I think that analytics hold and the grip on the organization, Jared's being loosened with that move. That's what I really took out of it. It's not a bad or good thing for Andrew Berry. So he might be great. I don't have a vibe on him. I know there's some people that love him, some people that don't, but
it's
I
guys.
think that's a fair opportunity.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I am. It's Jimmy. Jimmy loves him, right? I mean, that's the word that I hear, is that he's definitely a guy that Jimmy Haslam likes, and he was that up and comer. He's a guy that has a lot of respect in the league, or that people think highly of, and that some people think could end up back with the Browns at some point in his career.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I know why people say that. If that happens, that means Dorsey didn't work out. So I want Dorsey, and I think Dorsey will work out. But I heard similar comments. So what you're saying is not inaccurate. I heard a lot of people, and again, he went to the Eagles. He didn't go to the Arizona Cardinals. He didn't go to the Giants who are in the rebuild. Like, he went to the Eagles. The Eagles are established. So that does say a lot about Andrew Berry's talents. So we'll have to wait and see. I thought the other big moment this week, and a very quiet week for the Browns, I thought Kitchens' first press conference outside of his introduction went really well. I was very impressed by Kitchens. He's got a Paul Bear Bryant type of personality that really cuts. He's the first coach in a while that really cuts through the cloth here in Cleveland. We haven't had a coach like that, honestly, probably since the Browns haven't been back. It's hard to kind of point out one or two. You can maybe point at Butch Davis, but I don't know. I mean, I think the overall thing is here, he really came through. The two things I thought I really took out of it is he has this motto, people building business. He uses that phrase a lot. I think you're going to hear that a lot. That's Paul Bear Bryant type stuff, by the way. That's something Brian would say. And the other thing that I did take out of, which lessened my worriedness about it, I thought what he said about Kareem Hunt was great. I thought he really showed a lot of care and a lot of thought into that. That really impressed me, Jared. That I got to be honest with you, with everything I heard from Kitchens, his answer was very thought out. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like he was memorizing it. It felt from the heart.
It felt he's a human being. He's a person that understands his goals. He recognizes the goals of this team start with individuals, and if you're not taking care of yourself first, how are you going to perform on the field at the end of the day? At least long term and in a positive manner.
No, I agreed. I think Kitchens came off really well. For people who haven't listened to it, you can re-listen to it on certain websites. I would re-listen to it. It was a good listen. I was already a fan, Jared. I'm becoming more and more and more of a fan of Kitchens the more he talks. I mean, he is very easy to listen to, and I really, really enjoy him a lot. So I thought Kitchens came off well. There was really no rumors to who the Browns are taking, which isn't surprising for multiple reasons. A, the Browns don't rumor that stuff anymore. And B, they're in the middle of the draft. So for them to kind of get a vibe on who they're going to draft this early is probably too soon. We'll ask Hayden anyways, but I don't think he'll have an answer either. I think the bigger thing, though, that came out of the draft that's non-Browns news was really the Browns, to your point, have been quiet. The two things I'm hearing, one does affect the Browns, the other doesn't. It sounds like more and more, Jared, that Kyler Murray is going to be drafted by the Arizona Cardinals, which is amazing. They just took Rosen the year before.
Isn't that strange?
So it is. I did not realize that Kingsbury and Kyler Murray have such a relationship. I was listening to CBS Radio today, and they were going on and on about how much those two are tied to the hip. I guess Kingsbury really tried to get him to go to Texas Tech. Obviously, he went to Oklahoma. So he's got a long-standing relationship, and he's really putting his career on this draft pick. And Rosen, it's been mentioned and rumored that he's already knows he's out. So Rosen could be another guy on the draft market. I don't think he'll stay in Arizona as a backup. So,
do you think that Arizona's making this move purely, well, not purely, but partially, I guess, out of seeing guys like Baker Mayfield and guys like Patrick Mahomes find success in the league and prove once again that that there's these dynamic quarterbacks with a different, slightly different skill set that might not meet all of the requirements, that other guys have when they're looking for a quarterback, that he can find success in the league?
Here's what I would say. Russell Wilson's another example, too, for these guys. If you want to go all the way back to the 2000s, Drew Brees is barely over 6 foot.
People hope Johnny Manziel was going to be that
Johnny
guy,
Manziel.
too.
Oh, my gosh. We'll get to him in a second.
Yeah, right. Him and his cheating girlfriend. Or wife, I'm sorry. He's married to her.
Wife, right. Here's what I would say about all this for the Cardinals. You're putting a huge risk in drafting Kyle Murray. You're doubling down on risk by trading Josh Rosen, which is what you're going to do if you draft Murray. That's a lot of pressure on Kingsbury. It's a lot of pressure on our organization. So you better really believe, because not only are you grabbing the quarterback, you're releasing a guy who's still young. That's very unique, Jared. Doesn't happen often. I think that's a huge risk. But, hey, if you believe in him, that's a risk you got to take. The other news that I heard over the airwaves today, Le'Veon Bell, the two teams that are coming up, one is the Jets, which is not surprising. The Jets have been trying to get a running back outside of Isaiah Crowell forever to play there. So that would be that. I think it makes a lot of sense. The other team I'm hearing is the Ravens. And I think that would obviously add some juice to the Steelers-Ravens rivalry. And I'll be interested to see that happens. But I think Le'Veon Bell to the Ravens, I don't like that. I'd like to see Le'Veon Bell go somewhere else.
I don't know how I feel about that, because in my mind, I feel like the Ravens are really, really cornering themselves into being a one-dimensional offense.
Running.
Which is great. And they've got a great defense, so I understand that that was the difference maker throughout the playoffs and winning the Super Bowl. But at the same time, I don't think that sacrificing your passing game for the run game necessarily makes sense long term either.
Well, I think they're going to. I mean, Jared, to your point, you're going to see basically a Paul Johnson, option happy
running options.
Here.
Yep, I know.
Yeah, I mean, you really are over there in Baltimore.
And that doesn't bode well for the Browns at the moment.
No, it doesn't. Look, here's the thing. Teams like that, I actually think for the Ravens, it wouldn't be great, but it wouldn't be terrible. It means I think they're still 8-8, 9-7, 7-9. Here's what I don't like, though. I think Le'Veon Bell played motivated in Baltimore. And I think John Harbaugh can coach. I'd rather see him go to the Dolphins. I'd rather see him go to, the Arizona Cardinal. I want to, go get out of here. Like, I don't want. Yeah, so you have to keep. I think we need to start keeping our eye on this Le'Veon Bell thing, because if the Ravens really do land him, I think that is a big get for them. I think that would really work out well, and I think he'd play well in New York as well. So we'll have to keep our eye on that stuff. And then real quickly before we get to Hayden, I thought the other thing that you and I should talk about too is the new Johnny Manziel news. And here, you can go online and read about it. He's been kicked out of the CFL. He broke his contract. The one thing that I took in the story, Jared, is it made little to no noise in Cleveland. And you know what? I think last year it would have done not made a lot of noise, but I think it would have made some noise. And this year it just tells you how much it's changed. It kind of came and went and boom. Almost like a small pebble.
Everything's been quiet. It
really has been. Really has been. It says a lot about where this organization's going. And so now to talk more about that and more about the Combine, let's talk to Hayden Grove.
And with us now, Hayden Grove of Cleveland.com. Hayden's been hanging out with the Browns while they're down at the NFL Combine. The Browns representatives getting the inside scoop from John Dorsey and Coach Freddie Kitchens and all the other good stuff that's been going on. It's been rather quiet in Browns land for more than a week, it feels like now. The longest Andy and I haven't had something crazy pop up to talk about, I think, since we started doing this podcast. Hayden, what's going on, brother? How are you?
Guys, thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Hayden, is that the vibe that seems to be going on right now? The Browns, they're not worried about the number one overall pick. We're not looking for a quarterback, and everything seems to be calm. How weird is that for you?
Oh, I think it's very weird because the Browns have been in the top of the draft for most of my life. Like 1999, I was born in '93, so I was 6 years old when the Browns came back, and for most of my adult life, I'm 26 now. 20 years. It's been pretty much they've been in the top 5, top 10 in the draft. It's been a big deal, but now it's 7-8-1. It's a very strange feeling to be thinking about the Browns and not being in the top of the draft and not thinking about quarterbacks. I mean, as a quarterback guy, I love the quarterback position. I think it's the biggest position in sports. I loved playing it when I was growing up. I played in high school. I went to camps and stuff. I just enjoy the position. So it's a little bumming. It bums me out a little bit to not be able to focus as much on the quarterbacks because I really love that position. But at the same time, it's also kind of refreshing to not have to think about, who's going to be their guy? Who are they going to take? Blah, blah, blah. Because now that they're at 17, there are so many different options. I think they're going to probably just go with the best player available at a position of need. I think they're going to go with if a defensive lineman they love is there, and I think that's who they're going to take. If they have a secondary or a linebacker that they love and it's there, they're going to take it. And I think probably the chain of command is probably going to be defensive line, linebackers, secondary, and then maybe wide receiver last, because we know John Dorsey doesn't like to take wide receivers at the top of the draft. So it is a very weird thing. Last year was a lot more interesting, I guess you could say. There's not as much intrigue and interest in this upcoming NFL draft if you're at a Browns perspective.
By the way, I'm fine with that. I'm tired of these.
I will say before Andy asks the next question, that is kind of silly to me, but it makes total sense that we would normally be flipping out that that our GM isn't looking at the skill player positions in that first round for that first overall pick that we have. Because if it were Ray Farmer, we used to throw temper tantrums over it as fans, and now we're like, oh, John doesn't want a wide receiver. Well, we don't care. He'll figure it out. We're good.
Oh, that's exactly right. I mean, that's called trusting your GM. It's a good thing. I mean, the guy has brought in quality players, and I think you're at the point now where you got to fill these positions that maybe aren't the biggest headline grabbers, but they're very, very important. Having a good defensive line, as we've seen from Ndamukong Suh and the guys in LA. I mean, having those kind of guys can really change the game. So those are the guys that are going to help you get to a Super Bowl, and I think that they're at the time now where they really just need to fill in some pieces of that puzzle before they put the final piece in with maybe a big name here, a big name there, a really star talented player.
Well, let me ask you then, I think the Cleveland perspective, now that the Kareem Hunt story's kind of died down, is still excitement. Are you getting that nationally too when you're walking around Indianapolis? I'm sure that, look, there's other teams in there that have played, that have been, obviously the Patriots, Saints come to mind, Rams. All those teams have been successful. The Chiefs, even though they didn't go to the Super Bowl. Are the Browns starting to be bantered on that kind of level, Hayden? Or are there still a lot of people saying, the Browns are up and coming, but they, we want to see it to believe it? Or what is your vibe nationally about the Browns right now?
My vibe nationally is that Baker Mayfield has changed everybody's mind about the Cleveland Browns. I mean, That's the first thing, man. You guys got a quarterback. You're ready to roll. I mean, this guy is legit. He's got that charisma. He's got that arm. He's got that swagger about him. He's got everything you want in that quarterback. And, he's going to change. He's the guy. Finally, Cleveland has the guy. And I think everybody recognizes that and they're excited about it because, again, the Browns are one of the most beloved franchises in America. And, it's unfortunate that things haven't worked out for them because there are so many fans that, have fallen in love with the Browns over the years. So nationally, there are plenty of national writers and national media members and national guys who, probably grew up Browns fans. I mean, right. I know a couple off the top of my head, and, I think everybody's excited to talk about the Cleveland Browns being good again, having a quarterback. It's the jokes were tired. The 0-16 was tired. Hugh Jackson was tired. Now it just seems like there's a whole new life and a whole new energy with Freddie, with John, with Baker, with the whole triumvirate there. And it's really just a great thing to see from the national perspective.
Yeah, you kind of hit upon it. Dorsey, I think, made the first big impact last year in the offseason, and obviously what Baker did was great. I got to be honest, I've been really pleasantly surprised with Kitchens and how he's taken this job so far, and I thought his press conference, he came off really well this week. And he really has been talking this motto of he is in the people business of building. It's very, very much Paul Bear Bryant kind of stuff, which is great. I love that stuff. Is that the vibe you're getting too with him? It sounds like he is really quickly making a presence on this team. And I didn't know if that was going to happen or not, but I felt it in that press conference. You can tell he's making an impression already about who he is and what he's about.
Well, he made that impression already. That he made that impression. I mean, honest to God, and I'm not going to say I knew. I got a tip a while ago that they loved Freddie and that Freddie was going to get a chance. And I think that was in December. Mm-hmm. And the way that they talked about him, it's just that you knew it was going to be him. He was going to have the chance. Unless he really blew it in the interview, they were going to hire him because he already has that. He has that swagger. He has that confidence. He's made that already. He's already made that mark within the organization because, again, he treats people like people. Yeah. He doesn't have an ego. He just treats everybody and he treats, he's focused on human beings and interacting with people as human beings. He's worried about what makes a guy happy. What can I do to make a guy happy? What can I do to make a guy motivated? What can I make a guy, or what can I do to make a guy, work a little harder or work on something different? He's very focused on that kind of stuff. And that's so important. It's so important. It's more important. I think it's more important than people realize. Cause I remember when I played, there were certain things that my coach would say that would, he knew me well enough to where he knew he was the same kind of guy that just cared about everybody as a person. And he was one of the biggest influences in my young life, just again, because he cared about people and he would, take an interest in what I was doing off the field, take an interest in my family, take an interest in, it was just a nice feeling to have. And it made you want to play for him. And I think that's exactly what Freddie Kitchens is doing. And I think he's already made that impact with guys on the offense. And, he's certainly going to be doing that more guys with defense. I remember he was talking at his introductory press conference about, he's like, I wanted to know about Myles Garrett. So I went over and started playing pool with Myles Garrett. And I know that Myles Garrett likes playing pool, and he was talking to me about his family and this and that. I mean, it's just the little things that can make such a big difference. Hugh Jackson it just didn't feel like he cared about that. It didn't feel like he cared about his coaches, didn't feel like he cared about his players on that level. But I think Freddie Kitchens is a people person, and he's made that impact. And it's been, I think this organization, I think, made a grand slam hire.
Well, there's a few things there with that. One, it's almost like Hugh just didn't know how to relate to people, so we got that, and we already know, and I don't want to beat that dead horse. Two, Freddie sounds more like the guy that resembles the way that Tito operates in regards to how he gets the best out of his players with the Indians. And the third thing I wanted to hit on with you, translate this now, Freddie Kitchens' way of handling players to the Kareem Hunt issue and making sure he's a better person first before he's worried about how he plays on the field.
Yeah, so I think Freddie, again, the whole Kareem Hunt situation, I think that's a big part of why they brought him in, is because they felt like, okay, this guy, we can relate on, we can do everything we can to relate on him, or relate to him as a human being, to relate to him, and to, make sure that he becomes the best human being possible, because the better human being he is, I can guarantee you the better football player he's going to be. And he's already a damn good football player. So, if he gets to become a better person, gets to, do the right things, act the right way, that's only going to make him a better football player, and then the Browns are that much better for it. So I think that's the whole bottom line of this. Get to know these guys as well as you can, make them as good as you can make them as a human being, as a football player, and the Browns are going to be so much better off for it. It's so much better doing that than just, picking a guy based on his numbers and his talent. And I think that's where analytics, I really think, I don't hate analytics. I don't. I think it's a very different and unique way to look at the game. But you cannot place enough of a price tag on getting to know a guy, what makes him work, what makes him tick, what makes him happy, what has him comfortable. How can I make this guy the most happy and comfortable that he can be, to where he's going to play his best? I think that is the absolute most important thing. And I think that's where analytics can get lost. Okay, this guy does this, and the average is this, and he throws this pass, and he runs this speed. But, is he going to run that speed if he doesn't feel like he's valued? And that's, I think, a very, very big part of what was missing with the Sashi Brown era.
No, I agreed. You can't analytic emotion. You can't analytic. No, you can't do that
Guys,
stuff.
I wish I could tell. And by the way, in regards to Freddie, I wish I could tell you some of the things that have happened off the record and just the kind of human being Freddie is.
Well, you can
really,
if you want.
and then I'd get then the Browns would revoke my credential, and that would be it for me. But just some of this, again, he's just off the record. Some of the things I've heard, and some of the things, he's a phenomenal human being, and I'm excited for the Browns because no matter what happens, sure. I think that Freddie is going to be the guy to take them to that next level, and I think that it's a home run hire. But even if it's not, you're not going to walk away from Freddie being like, that was a bad hire, he's a bad guy, whatever. Yeah. It's going to, even if things aren't perfect, and things kind of, even if they end, the bottom line is they're not going to end badly. Things with the Freddie Kitchens and the Browns are not going to end badly. If he gets released or fired someday for something, fine, but they're not going to end badly. That's all I'm going to say.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I don't throw that compliment around lightly. Like, he does remind me of Paul Bear Bryant at times. The way he talks, the way he speaks, being an Alabama kid, he's got that presence. He really does. Like, he cuts through the cord when he talks. And it's refreshing. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Obviously, Hugh didn't do that, but did Shermer do that? No. Did Chud do that? No. And I mean, you go through these coaches, we really haven't had... Maybe, but I think it's been a while, so it's good to see. It's good to hear.
Well, I think that the funny thing is that I don't care what you talk like. Like, I don't care what, Bill Belichick doesn't say a word, but I guarantee you that guy acts in the exact same way. He knows his players. Yeah. He knows what makes them happy. He knows what makes them tick. He knows, who these guys are and why they are the way that they are. And that's very, very important. That's why I think he's gotten the best out of guys like, the Julian Edelmans of the world, the Wes Welkers, some of the other linebackers and got other players. I mean, he knows how to motivate him, knows how to make him tick. And I think that's what makes him so important. And I think that's what Freddie is going to do with these Browns.
Well, I think you're right. I'm going to ask you a three-parter here, but they're all kind of the same vibe. Anything you're hearing about Perryman, the thing we've been hearing about Perryman sounds like he's going to wait till after free agency. Anything new about Higgins you're hearing? And then you kind of already answered it, but I'm hearing the same thing. It sounds like the Browns are going to go defense, but have you heard any players that the Browns like so far and so far in the combine? Those three things. So Perryman, Higgins, and any kind of leads you think the Browns might be drafting or anybody they might like.
Sure. So I'll start with the last one. John Dorsey didn't let out the first pick in the NFL draft until Baker Mayfield, or until he picked Baker Mayfield. I mean, none of the national guys had it. Everybody had Darnold. Everybody had, one of those. It was basically Darnold all along. And then all of a sudden, the morning of, it kind of gets out a little bit. But I mean, he's so tight-lipped, and his organization is so tight-lipped that no, I really haven't heard specific names. Sure, you can see a couple of guys that were interviewed by the Browns, and you can see it. You can see it that way. I think that some of the guys that they've talked to time and time again. But I don't have any names. I really don't. And maybe that's. I think it's because again, I don't want to just throw a name out there and be like, hey, I've heard this, but without any specific. I have sources. I have guys but I haven't talked to any of them during this combine time because they're very, very busy. They're doing their thing, right. And they're interviewing these guys. So. Maybe within the next couple of weeks, I can come up with a couple of names for you. Sure. But right now, no. And so in Brashard Perryman, it looks like he's going to test free agency. But again, I don't think it would be smart for him to leave because again, you don't want a Terrell Pryor situation. You don't want to try a Terrell Pryor situation where you go to Washington, you get screwed, you get hurt, and now you're kind of looking for work.
Right? Because
that would be a good idea for him.
We know Terrell Pryor has made the comments that he probably made a mistake in leaving Cleveland, and I'm thinking that this body of work for Perryman looks great for now, but it's really not developed. And staying with the Browns is probably gonna be the best move for him. I don't know what kind of money he's gonna get testing free agency.
And it's the same agent against Drew Rosenhaus again representing the client,
right? Which ended up and Pryor regretted that move.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it would be smart for Brashard Perryman to come back to the Browns. And then, maybe he tests free agency because, maybe he does get a bigger deal and he can kind of work the Browns a little bit that way. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm fine with a guy trying to maximize his money. That's fair. That's very
absolutely
fair. That's very smart.
Absolutely. Good point.
As much as I give Trevor Bauer crap, he's very smart at that too. He's going to maximize his money. So, I was just talking to a buddy of mine about Trevor Bauer. But anyway, Brashard Perryman, I think it would be like the Robinson thing. Greg Robinson takes a 1-year deal, $7 million. It could have tested free agency because he did make a little bit of an impact for the Browns last year. Instead, he's going to go to the place where he found it. He found it with the Browns finally, and he's going to go back there to perhaps continue to be in a place where he's comfortable, where he knows the guys, where he can continue to have that confidence. I think that would be the smart thing I think that was a smart thing for him to do, and I think that'd be a smart thing for Brashad Perriman to do.
Yeah, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, I guess.
Exactly.
There was a third part to that question. Higgins, right?
Anything new on Higgins? I mean, he's restricted, but is there anything closer now?
Yeah. Dorsey said something about maybe tagging him or something. I don't remember, tendering him or something like that.
Right.
So again, maybe they give him one more year to kind of make himself a name, and then from there he can kind of go get a big free agent deal. But I don't know if the Browns would be willing to give him a huge deal unless he really proves it on the field next year. So I think he'll be back. I think he'll be. I would say it's probably a 45% chance they get both back, but I think maybe 50. I would go 50. I don't know, maybe 50-50. They're both back.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to Perriman and Rosenhaus, to be honest with you. I think Rosenhaus is, he's the Boris of that sport. It's going to be interesting to see how much he can sway. And, this would be a great time to transition to the, not to the baseball diamond, but to the basketball floor. So the Cavs, I think they're about ready to go into the abyss because you got March Madness, you got the Indians starting up. So I think we should talk about them now before they go away forever. I love the Cavs, but I got to be truthful. I think it's going to be tough, especially when they go on that West Coast swing in late March. I think the question that I want to lead you off with, we talked about offline briefly. What are you hearing about the head coach job for this team? I mean, is there any kind of rumor like, Gilbert in the past has tried to go after Izzo or Calipari? Is there anything like that being floated, or is it really just wait and see? I'm surprised that there's nothing been rumored yet with the Cavs.
Well, I think there's a reason for that. And you mentioned off the air about Larry Drew, and I didn't want to answer then because I want to answer you now.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any reason why Larry Drew couldn't continue. I mean, I know that there may be an opportunity to hire a young guy, to hire, a guy up and coming in the G League, a guy up and coming, in the assistant NBA ranks, something like that. I totally get that. You want to bring in a fresh young face, but these guys, and if you watch the Cavs all year, sure, they've had some bad losses, but these guys battle their butts off night in, night out.
They play hard.
They're in a lot of games. They play very hard. And that's a very, 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 very difficult thing to do when you're that bad. I mean, in the NBA especially. So I don't know if it's, the new arrival of Kevin Love, Marquise Chris, Brandon Knight, those guys coming in and helping. I know that, I know for sure that Brandon is not the kind of guy that's going to loaf. He's going to bring it every day. And Kevin Love seems the same way. But for Larry Drew to have the respect of that locker room, to get these guys working hard day in and day out, I don't see why he couldn't be the coach of this team for the long haul. I mean, he's been in situations where it hasn't really worked, but I mean, he got in on the ground floor with this team, and I could totally see him coming back. But again, I do think that they're gonna do their due diligence on other guys if they feel like they might want to head in a younger direction. But I think there's a real reason for why there are no names really coming out, because I think they are going to give Larry Drew serious consideration. But a name that interests me is Jerry Stackhouse. He's done some good things in Memphis, so. Yeah, he's done some really, really good things, and I'd be interested to see what kind of coach he could be.
Hayden, in regard to Coach Drew, though, I mean, when he came into this, when he was put in this position, I mean, it took forever to even figure out whether he wanted to be the head coach, whether he wanted this team. Now, I mean,
I don't think that's it.
Okay.
I think it was the money. I think it was the money thing. I think he if he was going to coach this team, he wanted to be paid like a coach.
Gotcha.
Right. That's it. I mean. That's all it was. I think he absolutely wanted to. I think he absolutely wanted to coach the team. I don't think that was the issue. I think he wanted to be coach. To be paid as a head coach to be paid. I mean, it's not like he was doing. It was half the year. I mean, he was at what? It was 6 games. He's coaching the team for 76 games. You want to be paid like a regular head coach. So
yeah, understood.
That to do with his desires.
That makes sense. And then going into just listening to his talk about the development of Cedi Osman and the development of Colin Sexton over the period of this season, and he seems to be taking a lot of pride in how those guys have been playing this year and how they've improved from then to now, which I think there were some folks out there wondering whether Coach Drew wants to stay here and coach again next season, and that to me would be a sign that he's all in for coming back, possibly.
Yeah, I think he is. I really do. Again, I think he likes this group. Again, and from the people I've talked to, from the people on the team that I've talked to, I mean, and the guys have said it. I think Brandon said it the other day and to the media. I mean, if you walk in that locker room, if you walk in that practice facility, you don't know what their record is. You couldn't tell for a second that they have 14 wins. I mean, look at the win last night.
I love that.
They were down 6 with 3 minutes left and
gutted it out.
Come back and win. I mean, these guys, as bad as it may be for their draft lottery stock, they don't care. They're ready to play. They're excited about the opportunity to play together. They're a very good group, and I think that when and maybe Andy will address this again, but you were talking about guys that aren't coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody's really leaving. I think everybody wants to be here if they'll have them back. I mean, maybe some of the guys get traded for better, players or picks or whatever, but I think the group really enjoys itself. I think that they enjoy playing together.
That's good.
And it's a really surprising thing for a bad team.
Well, I got to be honest with you. This team's very rootable. I did not feel like this team at times was rootable, even with young Kyrie and Tristan running around before LeBron came back. The Cavs at times they were hard to like. Earl Clark had a quick stint, and Mike Brown came back. But I agree with you, Hayden. This team's very easy to root for. Obviously, I want to ask your opinion. I don't mind the Cavs winning. I think I'm going to guess what you're going to say here. Because lottery stats aside,
you're talking a couple percentage points about where they're going to end up. Anyways,
I think it's great that the Cavs are winning these games. What's your vibe?
Of course. I think it's great the Cavs are winning these games because it kind of shows them, Kevin Love was out, and that's a huge. I mean, that's a really, really big deal. And it didn't seem like it at the time because he wasn't playing well to start the year. But I mean, that's a guy who can give you 27 and 10. That's a guy who can take pressure off of a Colin Sexton, off of a Jetty Osman, off of a Larry Nance Jr., off of a Brandon Knight. I mean, that's a guy who can take immense pressure off these guys and still play well. And I think that people just totally undervalued Kevin Love as a player because he was the third string and then the second string here in Cleveland. So Kevin Love is a tremendous, tremendous player. And his ability to be on the court is helping Colin Sexton, helping Jetty Osman, helping so many different guys. And I think it's very, very important to remember that. So, I think it's good they're winning games because I think that winning games, legitimizes their belief. They have a decent, maybe they're not a great team, but they have players that can play and they can be competitive.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Kevin Love really showed up in the Memphis game. Because Memphis next night on a back-to-back beat the Lakers. And you could just see in both those games how much of Kevin Love. And Jared knows this. I'm a Kevin Love guy. I love Love. I think people forget he played such a big defensive play in that Game 7 in Golden State, and sometimes that gets forgotten. He had a big moment there with Curry. That's not an easy spot. So I agree with you. Let me ask you, we were kind of talking this offline, so now it's starting to hit them. The three names I've heard all year from different people, whether it's reading The Athletic or Cleveland.com, is Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love, and Jordan Clarkson possibly not coming back. You kind of hit it. Are you hearing anything more about that? Are you getting any vibe? I think the one name I'm starting to waver is Tristan. I know Tristan's had a lot of off-the-floor stuff going on in his life. Do you think these all three come back, or do you think, hey, the team's actually coming together? Maybe that was what we were guessing too soon about them not coming back. What do you think? Tristan, Love, and Clarkson.
I could see all three coming back for sure. Tristan's a very, very interesting case, and because I think his contract is big. He was the Iron Man. He played in a million games in a row, and now he just doesn't care. And he's had all this off-the-field stuff. So I don't know. I think Tristan is the most likely to go out of that group. Yeah. I think they're going to keep Kevin. Yeah. I absolutely do.
I do too.
Because I think they think that he is, if he's happy to be in this situation and they're happy with him as they are, I don't see why would you trade him? You're going to get worse. I know you're trying to tank, and I don't even know if you're trying to tank. I don't know what you're. It's a very weird rebuild, but getting rid of Kevin Love does not help you. I don't think it does. I don't think it helps you in the short term or the long term. So I would bring him back next year for sure. And then
Clarkson
is interesting too. He's getting better. I think I would give him another, more time to develop as a backup, and more time to come off the bench and score. And maybe that's the guy at the trade deadline next year if you feel like you need some cash or you need some, you need to get rid of some cash or, stock up on picks or whatever. Then maybe next year you could trade him. But I would bring all three of them back. And Tristan's really interesting. That's a really interesting one.
Yeah, if you would have told me before the holidays, I think Tristan's coming back. After what I've been hearing and, listening to you the last time we talked and seeing, I think Tristan coming back might be hard. I think it might be good for Tristan, too. Not that he's not a Cleveland guy. It's not that. I think it might be time for him to get a fresh start and go somewhere and play well. I think that might be the best thing here for everyone. Real quickly, we talked about Sexton, you talked about Chetty. I think Larry Nance Jr., we kind of know where his mold is. Out of these other young players, who else are you seeing as kind of standing out? Like, is it Nwaba maybe? Is it that guy Chris? Who I've actually kind of liked Chris so far. I know you like Knight. Like, is there any of these young guys that you're seeing that the Cavs are playing that have caught your eye in the last few weeks?
I mean, honestly, and I've killed Colin Sexton. I didn't think he was a good pick. I didn't think he was a great player, but I like the way he's improving. I really do. I mean, I think that you can see him really developing and kind of getting a knack for the game. Maybe I was too hard on him. I don't know. Maybe because I thought the Cavs probably should have just tried to get LeBron back and they should have traded that pick. But if they really like Colin Sexton and he's willing to put in the work, I like him a lot. I'm biased because I know Brandon very well. I've been watching him since I was 14 years old. He's still getting his footing under him. He's been out of the game for a year and a half, almost 2 years. So I think once he gets back to being 100% healthy and 100%, ready to go, I think he'll be a good scorer, good shooter, and a guy that's not going to make a lot of mistakes. Marquise Chris is so up and down for me. And I think when he's good, he's really, really good.
Yes, I know where you're going with this.
Shoot from outside when he's playing well, when he's engaged, he's really good. But when he's bad, he's really bad.
You got to find
a way to make. You got to find a way to make your average better. Like have your good games, but don't have as many bad games. Find a way to be average on the nights when you're not great. So I like those guys, but I think the best out of all of them is Jetty. I think Jetty, LeBron, and I think, and maybe I'm too much of a LeBron homer or whatever. I don't know. I think the guy is just the best, the bee's knees, if you will. And last year, LeBron was talking about all the time about Jetty Osman, how he could play, how he saw it right away that Jetty Osman could play. He knew the game. He's been playing the game since he was 13 years old in Turkey. He's been a professional basketball player. He knows it. He knows how to play. And, I'll take LeBron's word on that 100%. So I took it last year, even when Jetty wasn't playing well or playing a lot. And now you're seeing this guy just really develop. And I think the best part of his game that's really developed is his shooting. I think his three-point shooting has really, really come a long way because he's put in the work. And I think the more work he puts in, the better he becomes, the more versatile he'll be and the better player. So I'm excited. I think Jetty Osman can really, really be a good, maybe if not a superstar in this league, he could be a really darn good player and get himself a lot of money.
Hayden, I think that a lot of this, kind of like watching the Indian season unfold, for the Cavs, it's going to be a wait and see situation. And that's how I'm playing this out. We see some things that we like. We see some things we don't like. And the only thing that I can say in between is that we don't really know the direction that the team is going to go when it comes to the off season and what they're looking to build for the futures. But to jump back real quick go ahead.
Jared, you say that, but if somehow this team gets a Zion Williamson or an RJ Barrett and he pops in that lineup alongside, again, you do a Colin Sexton, Brandon Knight, Jetty Osman, Zion Williamson, Kevin Love, or you add. I mean, I think that team competes. I think that one big move could end up putting them in up into a 6 or a 4 seed next year. Maybe not a title mode.
Right.
I mean, the East is really damn good. We've
right.
seen it. But it puts you in a position where maybe a piece here, a piece there. Maybe you get a trade deadline guy, a buyout here. I mean, maybe you are in a playoff position. So I was the guy that before the season said that they could, make a little run here. And,
I thought the same thing, but injuries got in the way with that.
Yeah, injuries killed him. And Kevin Love being out immediately, the season was over. So I still believe that if you bring in a big guy, like a big name, like an RJ, like a Zion, and you put him alongside these guys that are improving, and then you have your star in Kevin Love, I think next year you could potentially be in the hunt for a playoff spot.
Well, I would take it. And then to roll over and wrap this up with you, Hayden, favorite moments so far at this year's Combine, or whether it has to do with football or just what you love about being there.
Oh man, I'm really like I don't know. I think the coolest thing for me is just seeing a lot of different people. Just seeing a lot of different people. I mean, be it famous NFL guys, or be it other media members I went to college with. I got caught up with a couple of classmates that I went to Ohio State with. One works for the Bengals, one's covering the Ohio State for 11 Warriors. I'm at Cleveland.com. And then, we're a pretty close-knit group in Cleveland, as you meant, or maybe it was somebody else that mentioned it. I've done a couple of radios today, but just like the camaraderie, it's a really good group, and I really feel blessed that that the people that have taken me in have taken me in. I remember a lot of them growing up, and they've been very kind to me, and so I think all of that. I think just seeing the people and being around and having that tightness about us, and then also. I don't know if you guys have ever had Harry or St. Elmo's shrimp cocktail. It's like a famous dish, and I've had it I think I've had it 4 of them in 4 days. So my goal is to have one. My goal is to have one every single day that I'm at the Combine, because it's so good, and I don't eat it any other time of the year. And so it's only like 4 pieces of shrimp. It's not like it's a huge thing, but it's just their cocktail sauce will like knock your socks off. Like, it'll blow your brains out. With its like horseradish, but it's so good. I can't get enough.
I got you. I'll take your word for it, and you can send me the recommendation. I know when I used to go to Daytona for the 500 for 3 years in a row, I had my spot and my amazing grilled clams or grilled oysters that I had all the time. So you get your dish wherever you go in a place like that, and just kind of stick with it. Hayden Grove, Cleveland.com. We seriously enjoy your insights and the fact that you get to bring that to the show for us, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your time there and come back and give us some more inside scoops whenever you get a chance, brother.
I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you. And again, keep on keeping on. You guys are doing a great job. I enjoy the podcast, and we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is 8-Bit Ray from the Gorilla Brain Podcast, part of the Pulse Podcast Network. Did you know that you could be using this spot to advertise your company or business? Well, I've done the research, and podcastinsights.com report that podcast listeners are loyal, affluent, and mostly college educated. But most importantly, are 5 times more likely to interact with the ad they hear on their favorite podcast than an ad from any other medium. If you would like to advertise your company or brand with our network, it's simple. All you have to do is send an email to marketing@pulsepodcastnetwork.com. I'll say it one more time. marketing@pulsepodcastnetwork.com, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Thanks to Hayden Grove, and thanks to all of our great sponsors. Jared and I also love to eat food. We love t-shirts. We'll take whatever free stuff you can give us. I will also, again, this weekend, be doing my Thrive picks, my college basketball stuff. The preview coming up, we're going to be doing, as we get closer to free agency, doing some more Brown stuff, and we'll be doing a lot more college basketball stuff as we get into March. Real quickly to wrap up on the Cavs, though, as we talked about a lot of different areas in the Cavs, whether it's Chetty Osman or who they like, maybe Larry Drew has a chance coming back.
Yeah.
The one thing,
more
though,
of a chance than I expected too, Andy. I got to be honest about that.
That's why I wanted to ask it, because I think at this point, again, it's interesting. At this point, the Cavs are a team that loves putting out rumors. So for them not to have any rumors yet does say a lot about it. The only thing about the Cavs that I still am concerned about is I don't see yet where this is going next year. Like, I know this team hustles. I know this team plays well. But they're going to have to make a lot of structural moves, even if they get number 1 or 2 or 3, and they get one of the Duke kids, or they get the kid Washington out of Kentucky. Really, the Cavs have a lot to do still to see where this next steps are going. Because the one thing, anyways, you go ahead first. Even
with let's say Hayden said, like Hayden said, like we plug in a certain guy here, we plug in a Zion, and we put them with your Kevin Love and your Chetty Osman and your Colin Sexton and your you're looking at an improved lineup, but again, you're looking at a young lineup, and you're looking at a lineup that hasn't played together for all that long, including plugging in this new dynamic player, whoever it may be, this young kid coached by Larry Drew. Hayden might be right. That might bump us up into that 6 seed, into that 4 seed, something. I mean, I think a 4 seed is pretty crazy to even think of being a possibility, but let's say that happens. I think even that would take a while to develop over the season.
Yes.
To come together. I appreciate the optimism. I still feel like it's a wait and see. But I get what he's saying. I think he's saying there's not going to be many changes, and if you plug in the right guy, it's going to make the difference. I can appreciate that.
Here's the one thing that I haven't expressed yet, and we'll do this in the next one more. I don't know if Zion's going to be as high level as people think. I think he's going to be very good, but I'm telling you, I think at times it gets a little overblown with him. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not as like sure thing as other people are. I really want to see him play more. But with that said, he's very, very athletic. And the kid Bagley,
he's the obvious number one. I mean,
there's no question.
He can hurt himself at the end of the year. Knock on wood, and obviously, and still end up the number one pick is my point. I mean, that's agreed. And by the way, you're right. And Bagley would be good. I think Bagley's good too. Again, number one draft pick overall, Zion Williamson. I don't want to hear from people, oh, he's the next LeBron. I don't know. The next anything I don't ever want to hear. I hate that.
By the way, you know that'll happen.
Oh, I hate it. It's corny. I'm sorry. I'm never a fan of the next anything. The next Apple, the next Uber, the next Netflix, the next anything. Stop it. The next Jordan was LeBron, and that's not even, it couldn't be further from the truth. They're completely different.
No, agreed. So I just want to get that out there too. I don't want to go too sour grapes, but I can see that happening. So that kind of is the state of the Cavs. You know, I think the big thing to hit on here, Jared, is how much longer can fandom sustain itself with everything that goes on in the tournament, everything that goes on with the Indians, everything that goes on with the offseason Browns. I think the Cavs are going to be challenged. I think they really will be. I think a part of their strategy is keeping Kevin Love. I mean, that's a part of it when it comes to the fans specifically. But other than that, yeah, I mean, the Cavs. It's gonna be tough. I like the optimism that Hayden has, and I'll probably see the light at some point. We'll see how that plays out. I think that's a very realistic viewpoint. I know I'm not laughing at you because I think you're right. I think that's a very realistic viewpoint, and you and I are not that far off. Oh, I came around on the Indians. I mean, I still have my concerns, but I definitely am not thinking that they're completely burning down everything. It's not a dumpster fire. It's actually going to be okay. No, it's going to be okay. Real quick, the college basketball, great win for Ohio State this week. They beat Iowa at home. Fran McCrafferty lost his mind, started yelling things at referees. He's suspended for 2 games, by the way. He's got an anger problem. He needs to be very, very careful. That was not nice what he did. Not nice, as we used to say in our house. Not nice. It makes basketball a lot more fun. So that's a good win. The Buckeyes play my Boilermakers on Saturday. Please leave them alone. It's senior day. You got your win this week. Just exit stage left. Let us take care of business here. You got your little win. Time for Purdue to take out the Buckeye garbage here and, move right on to our last 2 games here. That's a little dig. I love you guys out there. But that's a little dig. Oh, that was my little Boilermaker dig. Just a little one. Games to watch this weekend. Jared loved it. He's tongue-tied. He loved it so much. I don't care. That's my point. I don't ever get upset. Go ahead and say what you want, Andy. Listen, I treat those comments like I treat everyone else's comments when it comes to dogging on the Buckeyes. Okay, that's fine. We'll just keep winning, and that's fine with me. That's basketball. That doesn't happen. I understand. Yes, gotcha. But still, it's Columbus. Come on. But football season's almost here. Yep. Here's and then I will shut my mouth. I don't know. They didn't have to after last year. Oh, that was great. I think we're still scoring. So Kentucky plays Tennessee 2:00 Saturday. That's a good game to watch. There's a few other games here and there to watch. Really, what it comes down to, from what I can see from the tournament's eyes, North Carolina's coming on. I mentioned Kentucky last few weeks. I'll have more opinions and thoughts. The one thing though that has kind of turned my eye is what Michigan State has done and that great win they had in Ann Arbor. Kudos to Izzo and those guys. They really outplayed Michigan, and they've really kind of taken control of the best team. I mean, how much I love Purdue. If I'm being fair, the best team in the Big Ten this year is probably Michigan State. To win that game, Ann Arbor, the way they did, Jared, was an impressive win. And down 2 players. No Nick Ward. No, I forget the other guy's name off the top of my head, Langford. You know, that's just such a great win.
How do we feel, though, with Michigan State basically repping the Big Ten?
I'm not there yet to say Final Four or championship.
Yeah.
But they've caught my eye. And I'll say this too about Michigan. Michigan does this and then turns it up and ramps it up for the Big Ten tournament and for the NCAA.
Well, I know I think I feel better about Sparty than I do if.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'll give Purdue a fair shot in one sense. Purdue has a player in Carson Edwards who can win a game. And Purdue usually doesn't have those kind of players. Carson Edwards can win and take over a game by himself. So that's a good thing here for Purdue. And I think, you know, to put a bow in the Big Ten, I think Ohio State can get in. If they can score, they can do damage. They're athletic. Wisconsin's Wisconsin. They're going to do what they always do. And I think Iowa, even though they had a bad showing, they've won tight, close games. And that's what you have to do in a tournament. So I think those 6 teams, Jared, I don't think are in bad shape heading in. I really don't. I think they can do some damage in the right situation. Even Ohio State, if they can score, have to put the ball through the hoop. That's their big ammo. I mean,
they haven't shown. Listen, you've had a full season of not scoring. I mean, I just don't.
I know.
I have no hope for it. I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch, Andy. I'm gonna maybe I'll bet to force myself to watch.
Well, we'll be doing all sorts of picks. So I'll do my picks this weekend, and the other team's Maryland, too. Maryland had a terrible loss. That's the last thing about the Big Ten, then we'll wrap up. Very impressed with how Illinois and Penn State are playing out the season. Penn State beat Michigan. Penn State beat Maryland by big score. Game was never really competitive. Penn State and Illinois had a great couple wins too. You know, Jared, those 2 teams have really shown a lot where a lot of teams can check out. You have not seen it this year in the Big Ten. Been very, very impressed by the bottom feeders. That's what's made the Big Ten so good this year to me. Northwestern should have won a couple of those games when they had Wisconsin and Iowa on the ropes. Every game in the Big Ten this year has been a dogfight. Really, even Rutgers. Rutgers beat Minnesota last Sunday. No easy games this year. Really no nights off in the Big Ten.
That's what we'll be prepping for. I'm sure we're going to talk more tournament basketball we're basically there. I mean, that's where we are right now. So
you and I will talk offline. We'll do a lot of planning for that. I think the other thing here to watch here as we wrap up the whole show, keep your eye on to see what happens with the Indians and the relievers and the outfielders. Still time to adjust and make certain moves, as Mandy mentioned. We did our Indians preview in the last show.
Yeah, check back in with that prior episode if you haven't yet.
Yeah, we'll do more of that. And I think for this next week, the preview coming up, we'll get into the Big Ten tournament by the end of next week. The Browns free agency will be a week away, so we'll get into that more. We should know more about Jamie Collins and others. And we'll also probably at that time get a little closer to who's going to be in the outfield for the Indians, relievers. You're not going to have it set in stone, but Jared, usually around the second or third week, you start getting a vibe for how things are going to be playing out.
Well, and again, Andy, I think it's gonna, even if they have it, not in stone, it's gonna change throughout the course of the first half of the season. And let's just hope that everyone stays healthy so that we can at least make these, so no one's forced into a spot. I mean, that's really all I'm hoping that doesn't happen, is that no one's forced into a spot because of an injury. Let's really see how this plays out. And I think by the midway point, not even, by about 1/3 of the way through this season, we're going to have a real solid idea of what we're looking for and what we're looking at when it comes to this Indians team. But again, do not forget, it's a long season. Long
baseball
season.
Especially.
And Tito gets that, so trust him, and I think this team is going to be okay. Don't forget, everybody, if you want, check us out on Twitter. Follow us at CLE and Beyond. Also, follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Cleveland and Beyond. Shoot us an email, andyandjared@gmail.com. You can get a hold of us any of those ways. Leave us a message. Give us your thoughts on any of these Cleveland teams or Big Ten teams or whatever your opinions are. And we'd love to hear what you think of the show. And I don't know how we can improve it, Andy.
Of course. Hey, look, I just wanted to end on this note, so you're always on a positive. 3 for 3. I was all 3 right last weekend. I even picked LSU.
Oh, you needed that.
Well, that was fine. We're back at 6-5. We're back above the Mendoza line. A lot more fun picks coming. But yes, please give us your thoughts and opinions, and look out for my blogs over the weekend on college basketball.
Yep, and you can find the blog over at andyandjared.com or clevelandandbeyond.net. 2 different links, same exact webpage. You can find us there. He's Andy Billman. I'm Jared Watson. This is Andy and Jared, Cleveland and Beyond. Thanks again to Hayden Grove of Cleveland.com for today's interview, and we can't wait to see you again soon. Take care. Bye.